Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn properties of Z transformation. Let us begin. Let's start with our very first property that is called as a time shifting property. For example, let's say we have signal x of n for which if the Z transform is considered to be x of z, then x of n minus n naught. Here I have delayed the signal by n naught quantity. Then it will have its Z transform as z to the power minus n naught times x of z. For example, if you advance the signal by same quantity, let's say n naught, that is x of n plus n naught, will have Z transform as z to the power positive n naught times x of z. This property is very important. So I'll give you some example by having some numerical shift value. So let's say we have some signal x of n whose Z transform is x of z. Then let's say we have x of n minus 2 signal, then it would be z to the power minus 2 times x of z. Or else let's say we have x of n plus 3 as signal where x of n is advanced by quantity 3. In that case it would be z cube times x of z. I'm sure you understood this. For example, let's say we have signal as u of n for which we have Z transform as Z upon Z minus 1, or we can write this way also, 1 upon 1 minus Z inverse. Then u of n plus 3 would be considered as Z cube. Why this Z cube has come? Because we are shifting u of n signal with 3. Shifting can be of two types, that is advance or delay. Here I have advanced my signal by 3, then it gets multiplied by Z cube. So original Z transform, that is x of z, gets multiplied with Z cube. So it gets multiplied with 1 upon 1 minus Z inverse. So this way this time shifting property works. Let's move to the next property. Next property is a time reversal property. Let's see how it works. For example, we have signal x of n whose Z transform is x of z. Since the property is named as time reversal, so let's apply a time reversal. So if x of n is the original signal, x of minus n is a time reversal signal. Then x of minus n will have Z transform as x of 1 by z, or we can write 1 by z as Z inverse. Now the question is how to get x of Z inverse if x of z is known to you. It is very simple. Let's say you have x of z and you have some expression in terms of z. So to get x of z inverse, just replace z with either Z inverse or replace z with 1 by z. It's very simple. We can probably take the same example of step signal. For example, you have signal u of n where Z transform is 1 upon 1 minus Z inverse. Am I right? In that case, u of minus n will have Z transform as, you know that if I consider this whole thing as x of z, then you know that you have to replace z with Z inverse. So please understand, if I replace this z with Z inverse, then even after taking inverse once again, it will become simply 1 upon 1 minus z. Or in other words, I'll make you understand. Let's say u of n signal has Z transform. We have already written as 1 upon 1 minus Z inverse, or we can write it in this way, that is Z upon Z minus 1. In that case, u of minus n will have Z transform as we know that you have to replace z with 1 by z. So I can say it is 1 by z whole divided by 1 by z minus 1. It's one and the same thing. And same thing even happens with ROC also. So How does that affect ROC? Let us see. Let's talk about again u of n. We know Z transform for u of n is 1 upon 1 minus Z inverse, and the ROC is mod of Z greater than 1. In that case, u of minus n will have Z transform as. So whenever whenever for x of n, let's say the Z transform is known to me, that is x of z, then x of minus n will have its respective Z transform as x of Z inverse. That is, we are replacing Z with either 1 by Z or Z with Z inverse. Then we know that what is going to happen. Z transform would be 1 upon 1 minus Z. And same thing even happens here. Your Z inverse is greater than 1 or 1 upon Z greater than 1 or mod of 1 greater than mod of Z, or in simple words we supposed to write like this: mod of Z less than 1. So initially we had ROC like this. We have unit circle. ROC says it is mod of Z greater than 1. Initially ROC was area covered, that is outside unit circle. And here when I say mod of Z less than 1, then again I am drawing the unit circle, but this time area inside unit circle is a part of ROC. Let's see the next property, that is multiplication by n property. Even this property is very important property. You have to just pay attention. You know what? Even in Laplace also we have done such kind of property. Also in Fourier transform also we have covered such property. There, of course, when it comes to continuous time, we don't multiply by n, we multiply by t. So if you remember, when x of t gets multiplied by t, or in general, if any signal, irrespective in which domain it is, suppose if you multiply that signal by its independent variable, what happens in the other domain? I hope you remember, what happens in other domain is differentiation. Am I right? So let's see what is going to happen here. Let's say we have signal x of n having Z transform as x of z. Then suppose if I'm now multiplying x of n with n, of course I'm going to multiply with n because even the property demands it. And here when I'm saying x of n, it means independent variable is what? It is n. So I'm going to multiply signal with independent variable. Then you know that what happens in the other domain is differentiation. So it happens in this way, that is minus z times d by dz of x of z. So we can probably take some example. Let's say we have signal u of n whose z transform is z upon z minus 1. Then suppose we have n times u of n. Then the question is how to get the z transform. It's very easy. So please consider this u of n as x of n and z upon z minus 1 as x of z. So we know what is the value of x of n, and we know its z transform also. What I want to get is n times u of n's z transform. So here you have to apply property simply. So just apply the property. It becomes minus z times d by dz of x of z. And what is the value of x of z? It is z upon z minus 1. Is that right? So here when you are differentiating with respect to z, you find that in numerator also we have z, in denominator also we have z. It means you have to apply a derivative of u by v formula. Am I right? Then it becomes this way, minus z. Let us apply the property. So it is v into derivative of u, which is 1, minus u into derivative of v, which is also 1, divided by v square. It is z minus 1 whole square. Here z and minus z gets cancelled, and after that In fact, negative negative becomes positive. So you will have n times u of n's z transform as z upon z minus 1 whole square. Is that right? So this is how we can deal with n times u of n, or multiplication by n property can be applied in this way. So to make you more comfortable with this property, I'll take one more example. I'm sure you remember for u of n, we have z transform as z upon z minus 1. For example, it is a to the power n u of n. We have already learned this property called as, in fact, first shift theorem. So whenever x of n is multiplied with a to the power n, in x of z what we do, wherever there is z, we replace z with z by a. I repeat, we replace z with z by a whenever we multiply x of n signal with a to the power n. So what is going to happen? It becomes this way. It is z by a minus 1. So let me remind you what was the property. If we have signal x of n and its z transform as x of z, then a to the power n u of n, in fact we're supposed to say x of n, then its z transform, it's simply x of z by a. And how to get x of z by a? Actually, x of z by a means your x of z only, but z is replaced with z by a. Is that right? So we have done this way. Then a to the power n u of n will have z transform. So I'll keep it same. Only thing is I'm just going to simplify this. Then it would be like this: z upon z minus a. Is that right? So this is final z transform of a to the power n u of n. But then we are not here to understand a first shift theorem. We are here to understand multiply by n property. Am I right? So now I assume that this is your x of n, and this whole thing what I have got is now my x of z. And to existing x of n, I'm going to multiply with independent variable, that is n. It means now it is n times a to the power n u of n will have its z transform as minus z d by dz of x of z. And what is x of z? It is z upon z minus a. Am I right? Again, we are going to apply u by v property, that is minus z into, so it is v into derivative of u minus u into derivative of v divided by v square, that is z minus a whole square. Again, z and z gets cancelled. What is remaining is az upon z minus a whole square. So this is the final result for n times a to the power n u of n will have its z transform as az upon z minus a whole square. So this is the property to be remembered. I'm sure you understood this property, that is multiply by n property. Let's move to the next property called as a time difference property. You know what? This time difference property is quite analogous to a time differentiation property. We used to have this property, that is a time differentiation property, in case of a Laplace transform as well as in case of even Fourier transform. There we used to have time differentiation. So you know that here when I'm talking about Z transformation, we always take Z transformation of those signals which are discrete in nature. I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to convey you. Since we are dealing with discrete signal, in discrete signal there is no place for differentiation. In fact, differentiation and integration does not exist in case of discrete signals. You know that we have other tool to handle them. That is, when in continuous time, suppose we have an integration, then in discrete time we take accumulation. Accumulation means summation. So integration replaced with summation in discrete, whereas in continuous time, let's say if we have differentiation, then in discrete we have difference equation. I repeat, differentiation gets replaced with difference. Therefore, we don't have time differentiation property. What we have is time difference property. Let's try to understand what is meant by time difference property. For example, let's say we have signal x of n whose z transform is x of z. Then time difference signal is this way, that is x of n minus x of n minus 1. This is called as a time difference equation. Please understand, this is called as a time difference equation. In that case, it will have its z transform this way. So when I take z transform for x of n, we know that it is simply x of z. Then we have negative sign, so let us have negative sign here. Then the signal is x of n minus 1. Now you have to apply time shifting property here. So if x of n has a z transform as x of z, what z transform will have for x of n minus 1? It is, of course, z inverse into x of z. Very simple. Or this can be equated like this. X of z we can take common. And then what we have is 1 minus z inverse times x of z. Is that right? So let us write it final. That is x of n minus x of n minus 1, which we called as a time difference equation, will always have z transform as 1 minus z inverse times x of z. Let me remind you, in case of Laplace transform, we don't have time difference equation there. Since when it comes to Laplace transformation, we deal with those signals which are continuous in nature or which are continuous time signals. So in case of continuous time signal, we take a differentiation and not difference equation. So there, let's say we have signal x of t whose Laplace transform is x of s. In that case, d by dt of x of t, that is time differentiation property, will have Laplace transform as s times x of s. Now try to understand what I'm trying to tell you. Here, when I'm actually trying to compare, I'll have x of z in comparison with x of s in Laplace transform, where in place of s what we have is 1 by z inverse. So here s and 1 minus z inverse are comparable. So I'm not at all claiming that s is equal to 1 minus z inverse. I'm just trying to have some analogy. In z transform, we multiply x of z with 1 minus z inverse, whereas in Laplace transform, we multiply x of s with s. So here, I'm just having some coherence between s and 1 minus z inverse. Please understand, s is not at all equal to 1 minus z inverse, but this type of coherence you will also see in future. So just try to remember when I'm trying to relate. The reason why I'm relating, because in case of continuous time, we have differentiation, and in case of discrete domain or in case of discrete signal, we cannot have differentiation. Differentiation gets replaced with difference equation. Like when I say d by dt x of t is time differentiation, then x of n minus of x of n minus 1 is called as a time difference equation. Please don't forget this. This is called as a time difference equation. Let's understand how convolution property works. So there is nothing different that you are going to learn here. Simply, if we have some signal x of n has its respective z transform as x of z. Similarly, we have another signal g of n whose z transform is of course g of z. In case if convolution takes place in time domain, that is x of n gets convolved with g of n, we know that if there is convolution in time domain, then what happens in frequency domain? Of course, multiplication. So what we have over here is simply x of z multiplied with g of z. So there is absolutely nothing to explain here? You know that if there is a convolution in time domain, it becomes multiplication in frequency domain, and this is vice versa true. Am I right? Let's move to the last property, that is time summation property, or it is also called as an accumulation property. Before I start with the property, let me remind you continuous versus discrete. So in continuous, suppose if we have differentiation, then on discrete side what we have is a difference equation. Similarly, in case of continuous domain, let's say we have integration. To do the similar operation in discrete domain, we don't have integration. What we have is summation. And here we are going to understand this time summation property, or it is also called as an accumulation property. Let us understand the property now. Suppose you have signal x of n whose z transform is x of z, then now I'm not going to integrate, but what I'm going to have is summation over here. That is, let's say we have k ranging from minus infinity to infinity x of k, then its z transform is simply x of z upon 1 minus z inverse. So let me have this analogy in case of Laplace transform. Now in case of Laplace transform, we used to had signal x of t, whose Laplace we used to say as x of s. So if you remember, when I'm saying there is a summation in time domain, that is in discrete domain, then in case of continuous, what we have is integration. So this accumulation property refers to an integration property in continuous domain. So what we had is integrate over here, that is minus infinity to t x of tau d tau. Then whose Laplace transform we used to write x of s upon s. Here if you now see very well, this summation refers to integration, x of z refers to x of s, and 1 minus z inverse refers to s. As we have already seen in a last to last property where we had a time difference property, there I told you that s has some covariance with 1 minus z inverse. So in fact I can explain you this property in other way around. That is, you know that integrating x of t is as good as convolving your x of t with u of t. It is one and the same thing that we have already learned in case of Laplace. So I'm not going in detail with that. Similarly, what I mean to say over here is, let's say you had signal x of n, but here you're not using x of n. What you are doing, you are operating with summation symbol. It is as good as having integration in continuous domain. Then this is obtained after x of n convolved with u of n. Please try to understand. Either you write this expression or whether you write this expression, it is one and the same thing. And this is we have already learned in convolution chapter. So when I'm saying x of t convolve with u of t, now I'm talking about this expression, it is as good as passing your x of t through an integrator. Similarly, when you are convolving your x of n with u of n, it is as good as you are actually operating with summation operator with x of k, where k is moved from minus infinity to infinity. It is as good as the same thing. So we started like this. When I'm saying x of n will have z transform as x of z, then summing your x of n, or you can write even x of k here, or you can just keep it x of n only, where n is moved from minus infinity to infinity. This is as good as convolving your x of n with u of n. Now let me take a z transform for this. So you know that convolution becomes multiplication in frequency domain. So x of n will naturally become x of z, And u of n, you know that what is z transform for u of n? It is 1 upon 1 minus z inverse. Can I say this is simply equal to x of z upon 1 minus z inverse? I'm sure you understood this. How we get this answer, that is x of z upon 1 minus z inverse, by using this summation property. So please understand, it's z transform, it's simply x of z upon 1 minus z inverse. I'm sure you have understood all the properties. If you understand these properties thoroughly, then it becomes very simple for you to solve the problems on Z transform. And in next video lecture, we are going to solve some gate numericals based on the same. Thank you.